Hello, welcome to Specialized Services Company. My name is Michelle Walker, and I'm the Vice President of Finance and Administration. In my role, I handle all of the human resources, payroll, and personnel-related functions. So if you ever have any questions, don't ever hesitate to come and ask me. This video is intended to provide you with some information about the company, about some of our policies and procedures, and what it'll be like working here at SSC. Following this video, you will be filling out some forms on our HR portal, which is called Bamboo, and then you will be watching a safety video, followed by an in-person meeting with the crew that you're going to be working with for some onboarding and additional information about how we do things here at SSC. Our hope is that all of this information will set you up to have a really successful and positive working experience here at SSC Underground. Before we dive into the employee handbook and the policies and procedures, I want to share a little bit about the company and what matters to us and what it really means to be an employee here at SSC. Behind me, you'll notice some of our mission, our vision, our bold steps that we take to accomplish those things, and I encourage you to visit our website and learn more about those aspects of SSC. The part that I'd really like to talk about today is our values. These are our core values that we operate by every day and that we'll expect you to operate by as well. And you'll see that by choosing to adopt these values and work according to them, you'll have a really positive experience here, and you'll see them modeled and exemplified in some of our great employees that you'll be working alongside. Our core values at SSC spell out the phrase, I am SSC. I is for integrity, and our definition of integrity is zero gap between what we say and what we do. That means from our standpoint as leaders of the company, what we tell you you're going to experience at SSC, we want you to actually experience. We realize that sometimes we fall short. As leaders, we don't know everything that goes on, and as human employees, sometimes we have bad days and things aren't going to go exactly according to plan. However, if you see something that's really out of alignment with what you've come to expect at working at SSC, please come and tell us. And we expect that you will always model integrity and do exactly as we have asked you to do and not take shortcuts or take the easy way, because that's just not how we do things here at SSC. The A is for attitude. Our definition of attitude is working each day with an upbeat, positive, can-do attitude. We really take this seriously. We each show up to work each day with excitement to be here and an excitement to do great work for our customers and be a great member of the team working alongside each other. This is really going to be key for people to embrace your role here at SSC and for you to be a successful member of the team. So we just ask that we know things go on in your personal life and not every day is a great day, but you can choose to adopt an attitude of positivity, of saying, I can do this, and I'm going to work hard each day to get this job done. The M is for mutual respect. We define this as treating each interaction with respect and a spirit of service. This is really key when we're working with each other. We believe that nobody here is better than anyone else. We all have different levels of responsibility, and some people have to be in charge. That's just the only way that a company works. However, each one of us doesn't elevate ourselves to the point of being too good to do something or above having to help out wherever is required. So we definitely require that the new person on the team adopts this mentality as well. So really just interacting with each person on the team with respect and admiration for what they do and what they contribute to the job, and also with customers, with inspectors, with other members of the public that you encounter, just respect all the way around. And we use the term mutual respect because we believe that when you give respect, you'll receive respect back. The first S is for safe. Safety is a big deal here at SSC, and you're going to hear a lot about it today and on an ongoing basis. Our definition of safe as a value is that we keep ourselves, our coworkers, and the public safe each day, and we watch out for the physical and emotional well-being of each team member. The thing that I love about construction and what makes me passionate about working in this industry is the my brother's keeper mentality that is so exemplified by not just the people here at our company, but throughout the industry. We really work hard each day to make sure that each one of us is successful and that each project that we're on is successful. The only way that we can do that is if we're physically and mentally and emotionally able to do our job to the best of our abilities each day. So we take safety a step further besides just the physical safety of wearing your PPE and following guidelines and rules, which are all very important. But we also want you to look out for each other, and if somebody seems like something is wrong, we never want you to hesitate to speak up and ask them, is everything okay? Sometimes they just need somebody to talk to. And if we can all be in a state of emotional well-being each day, we're going to be much better coworkers to each other. So we really take that safety as the whole person's safety, and that each person is getting the rest that they need so that we don't have fatigue issues, and that people are eating right, especially in the summer, eating and drinking properly so that we don't have heat-related issues. It takes the whole body to being well in order to be a good, safe, positive contributor. So we really expand safety out beyond just the basic OSHA requirements. The next S is SMART. The definition of this is utilizing innovative technology, processes, and procedures to work efficiently. We've been doing this for a long time. SSC has been around for almost 50 years. In that time, we figured out some pretty good ways to do things and pretty good ways to use equipment so that it's run most efficiently, so that it lasts the longest, and to make your job as easy as possible. We can't take away all the hard work, but we really try to set things up in a way that they can be done with the least amount of effort and risk involved. And so we ask that you would follow our processes and procedures. Everybody's going to have ideas, and we welcome your ideas, but take a little bit of time and learn the way that we do things and learn to understand why we do things a certain way before you dismiss them or write them off as too much work or not making sense. Again, if you have questions, ask them, and if you have ideas, present them, but be okay with the fact that the way that we do things is for a reason. Taking care of our equipment is really, really important to us. Our equipment costs a lot of money. We don't want to have to replace it constantly, because money that we spend on replacing equipment unnecessarily is money that we take away from being able to provide competitive pay and great benefits to our employees. And so we ask that you really adopt that mentality of being smart with our equipment, not doing things that are going to damage it unnecessarily or shorten its lifespan. And we also really just take pride in maintaining our equipment, and that includes cleaning it up and operating it with excellence. And that leads us to our final value. The C is for committed to excellence. We take pride in exceeding our customers' expectations. We take pride in doing everything with absolute excellence. Pride is sometimes a bad word, and people think that you shouldn't be prideful. However, we think that pride can be a good thing, and we want you to be proud of where you work, the equipment you work with, and the people that you work with. And you can do all that when you go out each day and give your very best effort, contribute fully to the project, and blow our customers' minds. That's what we want. We love getting compliments from our customers saying, we didn't even have to ask, and they just knew to do it. We never want to be the company who has to be asked to go the extra mile. We want to do it automatically, and that's who we want on our team. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a better idea about some of our expectations here at SSC and the way that we operate, and who the people that you'll be working with have chosen to operate as well. If you ever have questions about those, please feel free to let me know, but we hope that they really become a part of who you are and your work here at SSC. Next, we're going to go through the employee handbook and just hit on some key policies and procedures that are important for you to know about. The entire employee handbook is available on the employee portal, which we'll talk about a little bit later for you to review. At the conclusion of this video, when you're completing the forms, one of the forms that you'll complete is an acknowledgement of the receipt of that employee handbook. So if you have any questions prior to that, feel free to ask. Otherwise, it's always available for you online to review any specific details. Some of these policies are just government mandated, and I just have to share them with you. Others are specific to how we do things at SSC. The first item to discuss is that we are an equal employment opportunity employer, which means that we do not discriminate against applicants or employees on the basis of age, 40 and over, race, sex, color, religion, national origin, disability, military status, genetic information, or any other status protected by applicable state or local law. This prohibition includes unlawful harassment based on any of these protected classes. So we follow these EEO guidelines And we do not discriminate on the basis of any of these items. And we expect that none of our employees will discriminate against each other on the basis of any of these items also. We do not tolerate harassment by coworkers or supervisors for any reason, including these protected classes. No harassment is tolerated at any time. And if you're experiencing or witnessing harassment, it is imperative that you come and talk to me or one of the other managers of the company immediately. You can report this anonymously. However, anytime that we can have a conversation about it is going to help our ability to understand and best deal with the harassment taking place. Our employee classifications of hiring are full-time or part-time. Most likely you're being hired as a full-time employee. That does not mean that you are guaranteed 40 hours a week of work. All of our employees end up averaging over 40 hours a week. However, in construction, hours can vary. Projects get delayed, weather delays happen, permits get held up. Things happen and push projects back, and there'll be certain weeks where you will work less than 40 hours a week. However, as I said, on average, over the course of the year, all of our employees exceed 40 hours a week, unless they have personal needs taking them away from work. The main purpose for that full-time classification is for the purpose of being eligible for benefits. You're being hired as a full-time employee who is eligible for full-time benefits. If you're coming to us and joining us on a part-time basis, which is when we've established previously that you'll be working less than 30 hours per week, then you would be eligible for the full-time or the part-time benefits that are available, which are certain select ones. And we'll talk more about that later. In addition, you're being hired as a non-exempt employee. Non-exempt means that you're not exempt from overtime, which means that you're eligible for overtime for any hours over 40 worked each week. This is just a government classification that I have to disclose to you. Just standard overtime for over 40 is all that means when you're classified as non-exempt. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit about payroll, hours, and some of the logistics surrounding that now. Payroll is all processed here internally at SSC. Our standard payroll is bi-weekly, every other Friday. As part of your new hire packet that we'll talk about in a little bit, you'll be receiving a payroll calendar that has the payroll dates for the year indicated on that so that you know when you'll be getting paid. The payroll, if it's run on a Friday, it's always run on a Friday, but it's for the prior 2 weeks. So the week that you get paid, you're not getting paid for those hours until the following payroll. We need that week to process payroll. We don't withhold a week of pay or anything like that. It's just the cycle in which it's processed. And for the purpose of the work week for calculating payroll, it begins on Sunday and ends on Saturday. Rarely do we work weekends. We do occasionally work Saturdays, and you'll be explained that by your supervisor. We hardly ever work Sundays. But just know that if you've worked a full week and then you're working a Saturday, that's probably into overtime. And that Monday when you come back to work, that counter for 40 hours a week has reset. As far as break periods go, if you're working out in the field, we don't have set formal breaks during the day, lunch breaks, anything like that. Your time will start when you arrive at your designated time at the yard, and it will end when you return to the yard and finish your work at the end of the day. Rarely will a crew stop for a lunch break for some reason and actually clock out. That's very, very rare, and we don't record any lunch deduction or anything like that on your payroll. We do, however, even though we don't take formal breaks, we don't expect that you go all day without a break. They're just not formal or at a set time. The flow of the job is going to determine when you take those breaks. You'll get familiar with how the work flows and how different crews work and operate and different jobs function and when those breaks are going to happen. But until then, don't ever hesitate to speak up if you need to stop and take a break. We encourage you to stop throughout the day and drink plenty of water and other fluids so that you stay hydrated, especially in the summer months. We also believe that you need food during the day to fuel yourself to be able to keep up with the work. However, we're just not going to stop for a half-hour lunch break. We always encourage that you bring your lunch with you. Our trucks do not stop on the way to job sites at stores, and often our jobs are not somewhere where you can go and get food. And even if you're near a restaurant, because we're not taking a set lunch break or clocking out, we ask that you just eat on the site the food that you've brought for the day. All of the trucks are equipped with ice and fresh drinking water. If you want something to drink other than that, we encourage you to bring that yourself. We do discourage excess caffeinated drinks or sodas because those just can be really hard on your body, especially when you're doing the physical work and in the heat of summer. So if you do choose to bring other drinks, we would encourage them to bring sports drinks that can help to keep you hydrated. So if during the day, until you get familiar with when breaks take place and you need to stop and take a break, ask. Nobody's gonna say no. They might say, hey, can you wait for 5 minutes till we're done with this hole? Or, recommend a good time to do it, but they're not gonna say no. And if you really need it right then, you can speak up and say so. Please don't ever just wander off or away from the site. Always let somebody know that you're taking a break so that they know where you're at. This is especially critical in the heat of the summer when heat exhaustion can happen, and we don't want you to wander away and somebody not know where you're at and then have a heat-related illness issue. Your time is kept for payroll and recorded and reported in a variety of different ways. The primary way that you'll be responsible for is clocking in and out each day. That's done via a timekeeping app that is on the iPad. You'll be shown this following the video. You'll be walked around and shown where this is, and you'll be given your login information for the time clock in your new hire packet. It's very important that you always remember to clock in at the beginning of each shift and clock out at the end of each shift. If for some reason you forget, clock in or out as soon as you remember. If you're not where you can clock in or out and you go to say clock out at the end of the day and realize you haven't clocked in, or you go to clock in the next morning and realize you haven't clocked out the night before, go ahead, finish that cycle. So clock out if that's what you've forgotten to do before you clock in, or vice versa, clock in before you clock out. Don't just ignore it and continue the cycle. There's a place where you can leave notes. So if, say, you're clocking in at the end of the day because you've forgotten to, note in there, forgot to clock in at 8 a.m. If you have any questions about that, you can ask myself or Stephen Kaufman, who works in our office as well. In addition to the timekeeping app where you clock in and out, your time will be being reported by your crew leader using both a paper timesheet and also on our accounting system, Sage, which they have access to from a project management standpoint on their iPads. So your time and what you're doing during the day is reported by them. Your responsibility is just to clock in and out. If there's a big variance between the two, we'll ask to see what's going on, but typically they reconcile quite well to each other. And as far as overtime pay goes, as mentioned, you will be paid time and a half for any hours worked over 40 each week. So as we talked before, payroll is bi-weekly, and that's unless it's a certified payroll. So sometimes we work on jobs and you'll hear them called certified jobs, Davis-Bacon wage decision jobs, or prevailing wage jobs. These are projects that have a certain level of federal funding attached to them, and the federal government sets the rate of pay that you'll be paid while working on those projects. You'll be met with ahead of time on those projects and shown the wage decision, which is a bit like a union pay scale that says if you're doing this type of work, you'll be paid these rates of pay. If they're less than your normal rate of pay, you'll be paid your normal rate of pay. However, we still have to report it as certified wages. If the certified rate is more than your regular rate of pay, you'll be paid those certified rates for the time spent on site doing that work. The main difference that you'll notice with certified payroll, other than the pay rates, is that you're paid weekly on those projects. This is really important to remember because often on those projects, a Department of Labor inspector will be on site to make sure that we're doing our job right and paying you according to the law. They're gonna ask you, do you know how often you get paid? Your instinct's gonna be to say bi-weekly because that's typically how we pay. However, you're gonna know that you're on a certified job and we ask that you please say weekly because we do pay you weekly for those jobs. If you're on a certified job, you'll be paid the following Friday for all hours worked that week, even if they're not on a certified job. So for all hours that you work during the week, when you have any hours on a certified job, will be paid on a certified payroll the following Friday. We do recommend that you elect to have your paycheck direct deposited. It's much easier for you than worrying about trying to get in here, be early enough on a Friday afternoon to get your check and get it to the bank on time. We offer direct deposit, and that way it's just there. That form is included in the forms that you'll be able to fill out at the conclusion of this video. If you ever need to change your direct deposit information, don't hesitate to come in and just get a new form, and we can fill that out and update that information at any time. If you do choose to have a paycheck issued, we won't just release your paycheck to anybody. We need a written notification from you that we can release it to somebody else if they're picking it up on your behalf. We do offer per diem pay if you're working on an out-of-town job, on an overnight out-of-town job. So if it's a job that you're required to go out of town and you're spending the night in a hotel, we will issue you a cash amount per night that's issued each day by your crew leader, and that's to cover food and other incidentals. We make the hotel reservations and pay for them directly as a company, so you're not responsible for any of those costs or arrangements. So that covers the basics of payroll. Now we're going to talk about attendance. Obviously, the most important part of being at work is being at work each day. We work really hard to communicate with you so that you know when you're working and when you need to be here and what you're going to be doing the next day. That's done via a phone call in the afternoon from our office, who's going to call you between 4 and 5 typically and let you know what time to be here the next day and who you'll be working with. We ask that you try really hard to take that call so that they can indicate that they've talked to you and that there's not any question. If they have to leave a message for you, take the time to call them back and let them know that you got it. It's really important that if for some reason you don't get that phone call and it's getting close to 5 o'clock and you haven't heard from us yet, give the office a call. If it's past 5 and you haven't heard, call your manager and ask them what time you're working the next day. Not knowing when you're supposed to be at work is not an excuse for not showing up to work. We will call you even if you're going to be off. If you're off the next day, we will call and tell you that. You should always receive a call from the office. If you, like we said, if you miss that, we understand that sometimes voicemails don't come through, things like that. So if it's 5 o'clock and you haven't heard from somebody, it's your job to find out where you're going to be the next day. And that can be done with a phone call to the office before 5 or to your manager if it's after 5. But again, the excuse of nobody told me when to be at work is not an okay excuse for not showing up to work the next day. Once you receive that call and that confirmation of when you're working the next day, we really expect that you're going to be there at that time. When you're told what time to be at work, you're going to be told who you're meeting, what crew leader you're going to be working with the next day. If something happens in the morning, you oversleep slightly, or your car doesn't start, or you have a flat tire, or you're stuck in traffic on the way to work, you're coming but you're going to be a few minutes late, call that person that you're supposed to be meeting. Let them know that you're on your way and to wait for you. If something happens and you're not able to make it to work, you get sick or an emergency comes up, call your manager as soon as you know that so that they can make other arrangements. If it's with enough notice, we can reschedule possibly or shift crews around so that the work can still be done and everybody else can still go to work. It's really important for you to realize, especially because you're likely joining the vacuum crews of our company, those crews are typically 2 people. And we can't send a truck out with just 1 person. So if you don't show up for work, that person that you're supposed to be working with the next day isn't going to be able to work either. So then you've let down your coworker who's not going to be able to work. You've let down the customer because they're not getting the service that they requested. And you're letting down the company because we're losing out on that opportunity to serve the customer. It's really important that you communicate needs to be off with as much advance notice as possible. We understand emergencies happen, but rarely is an emergency so big that you can't call and let us know. That way we can make arrangements and make sure that everybody's needs are met. Like I said, if you're running late in the morning, make sure you call and let somebody know. It can't happen every day. If I get reports that at least once a week, you're calling to say, I'm running 5 minutes late, I'm running 10 minutes late, my car wouldn't start, I'm stuck in traffic, we just can't have that happen. It's really important that you're here on time each day. If this becomes a problem, we'll be meeting to talk about that. That start time that you're given, that's the time that you're expected to be here and ready to start work. So arrive a few minutes before that. Give yourself time to get inside, get clocked in, and then be available to help out to get ready to go start the work for the day. If you're scheduled to be here at 6 o'clock, don't pull up at 6 o'clock. You're not going to be ready to work at your start time. Get here at least 5 minutes early to give yourself that time to get settled and ready so that you're not rushing and people aren't waiting for you. That's a big key to gaining the respect of our crews here at SSC. Another note about attendance is that if you're on a job site and something happens and you have to leave for some reason, don't just take off. Always let somebody know. It's really important that we know where our employees are at all times. Also, that contact in the morning for if you're running late, you'll be given a list of information of how to contact those crew leaders in your new hire packet at the end of the video. Okay, now we're gonna go through some policies regarding working here at SSC. The first one is cell phones. This is a big deal and one of the hardest things to get people to cooperate with. When you're here at work, we expect that you're here to work. That doesn't include dealing with your cell phone. We're producers. We work hard and we're not afraid to ask other people to work hard. And that means putting your cell phone away and working while you're here. In addition, having cell phones out on the job site is a huge safety concern. Your focus needs to be on the work that you're doing, not on whatever is going on your phone. We ask that you keep your cell phone in the truck at all times. That way it's put up and out of the way. When you stop to take a break, it may be okay to check messages, send a quick text, make a quick call, if it's okay with your crew leader, but never at the expense of getting the job done, and never in a situation where you're stopping doing work or creating extra work for other people in order to be able to make that call or be on your phone. It's really when you're stopped to take a break and there's no work going on. As I said, using cell phones on the job is a huge safety concern. It's really important that your focus be on the job at all times, both for your own safety and the safety of others. One of the first jobs that you're going to be given a major area of responsibility is spotting the trucks when they're backing up and moving, both in the yard and on job sites. You can't do that effectively if you're on your phone. It's really important that you pay attention to everything around you and take that job of spotting really seriously. To help you out with that, we're going to give you a list of the hand signals that are used for spotting so that you know how to get started doing that job in the new hire packet that you receive at the conclusion of this. The dress code here at SSC is pretty standard for a construction company. We're going to ask that you wear jeans or other jean type pants, whatever color they may be, but not sweatpants, and never anything so baggy that it's going to interfere with your ability to work or be a potential trip hazard or that it could catch on something. In addition, you're going to wear orange SSC shirts. These shirts are created by the company, and how that works is that you purchase a set of the shirts up front at the beginning of your employment. This is done via payroll deduction, and one of our staff members will work with you to get set up with a set of shirts for you to start work with. You purchase that set of 5 shirts initially, and then we replace them for you at no cost throughout the term of your employment as they wear out, get faded, ripped, that type of thing. Every 6 months you're eligible to receive a new set of shirts. You just need to ask for it at the front desk. We ask that you don't get them more often than necessary. If 6 months has gone by and your shirts are really fine, don't get them just for the sake of getting them. We'd really rather spend that money on things like pay and benefits rather than just buying shirts for the sake of buying shirts. In addition, you're going to need to wear boots. They don't have to be steel-toed boots, but they do need to be boots that provide ankle coverage and that are work boots. So not hiking boots or hiking shoes or running shoes or anything like that. They need to actually be boots. Like I said, they don't have to be steel-toed. One thing that you may find beneficial, and you'll see some of our crew members have, is boots that have built-in metatarsal covers. Metatarsal is the top part of your foot, and we have to wear those on job sites. We have ones that you can strap on to your boots, but there are boots available that have those built in. You'll see some of our guys wear them, and they're a great idea if you're able to obtain those types of boots. The other part of our dress code is PPE, personal protective equipment. This is really important. You're going to be issued a full set of PPE, which includes a safety vest, a hard hat, safety glasses, earplugs, gloves, and a face shield that goes on your hard hat. It's imperative that you have these with you every single day. We issue these to you at no charge, and we'll replace them at no charge as they wear out during the normal course of business. However, if you lose them or forget them, or your dog chews them up, if they're lost or ruined due to your own actions, then you'll need to pay for the replacement via payroll deduction. Things will wear out, like gloves and safety glasses, and like I said, when you need those, you just bring the old ones in and we'll replace them at no cost. But it's really important that you have that PPE with you at all times each day. I recommend that you get a duffel bag that you keep all of that in. That way you can take it with you at the end of the day and bring it back the next morning. Don't ever leave it in the truck, because you might not be in the same truck the next day, and when you get in to start work, that truck might be long gone along with your PPE. It's important that you not only have your PPE with you each day, but that you wear it and use it. We really have low tolerance for people who forget to put on their PPE. It's a part of doing construction work, and we expect that it's done at all times. Safety vests have to be on anytime that you're around traffic. Always remember to wear it, and if you're wearing a jacket, remember to put it over top of your jacket. Hard hats, 100% on all jobs at all times. Hard hats have to be worn. Some job sites have a 100% glove policy and eye protection policy. You'll know that when you go onto them, but always have those with you, because you're going to want to wear them for your own safety, not just for the policy. The face shields, they're mesh steel face shields that attach to your hard hat with a bracket. They're required on a lot of our jobs when you're doing the vacuum excavating, because of the dirt and debris that flies up into your face. Treat these with respect. We have a problem with a lot of people taking them off and just tossing them into the trucks, and they end up getting damaged. Treat them just like you treat your hard hat. Keep it with you, keep it with your hard hat at all times. It's an important part of your PPE, and we don't want to be paying to replace them unnecessarily because they're not being taken care of. Like I said, it's important that you have your PPE with you each day. If you don't have your PPE, you're not going to be able to work. Sometimes there may be somebody here who can issue you new PPE before you leave for the day so that you can go ahead and work, but sometimes there's not, and you can't go on a job site and work if you don't have your PPE. The next policy is our drug and alcohol-free workplace policy. You actually signed and agreed to this at the time that you took your new hire drug screen. However, just to remind you, we do extensive drug testing here at SSC, both by our own requirements and by the requirements of the customers and the agencies that we work for. A lot of our work is done for pipelines and pipeline-related contractors, and those are governed by the Federal Department of Highway Safety. And so we have to follow federal guidelines for all of our drug testing. We do random testing that is not selected by us, but by the consortium that we are part of for that pipeline work. So you have to be prepared to take a test at any time. In addition, some of our job sites that we work on will require pre-project testing. So you'll either go at the time that you go to the job site or prior to starting work on those sites. We also do post-accident testing. And so if you're ever involved in an accident, we will be sending you for drug testing for that, whether it's an injury, vehicle, job site, any type of accident, there'll be post-accident testing. And we also do reasonable suspicion testing. So if we have any suspicion or reason to believe that you may be under the influence of any type of drugs or alcohol, we will order reasonable suspicion testing for that. So the bottom line is, stay clean. You're never gonna know when you get tested. A lot of times it's out of our control when you get tested. We just have to send you when we're told to send you. So always stay clean and able to pass that drug test. In addition, just as a side note for clarification, as this is a bit confusing, marijuana, even if prescribed for medical purposes, is a prohibited substance because of our federal contracts that we work on and the federal guidelines that we must follow. In addition, we've deemed all of our positions here at SSC as safety sensitive, which means that there's no provision for allowing the use of medical marijuana. That's important to note, because if you do test positive for marijuana, even though you're a medical marijuana card holder, we will follow the same disciplinary action as any other failed drug test. We're going to talk a bit about our employee code of conduct. So this is stuff that should be really common sense, but it's good to repeat, and just so you're aware what we do not tolerate as a company by any of our employees. These actions are grounds for disciplinary action in our company's sole discretion, up to and including termination. And they include theft or dishonesty, including the unauthorized removal of property belonging to the company, coworkers, or customers, falsifying any records or information, tampering with another employee's time card or timesheet, the unlawful manufacturing, possession, distribution, sale, or use of illegal drugs or abuse or misuse of alcohol or legal drugs while on company premises or job site, while using the company property, or while conducting company business. Leaving your job or the company premises without prior approval from your supervisor. Disorderly conduct on company premises or job site, including but not limited to fighting, shouting, abusive language or threats, or other intimidating or threatening conduct. Insubordination towards supervisors or managers, or disrespect of company work rules and policies. Unauthorized access, use, or disclosure of company proprietary or confidential information. Unsatisfactory work performance. Failure to observe safety rules and procedures, to wear PPE, or to observe traffic regulations. And failure to cooperate with any internal investigation. This list is not all-inclusive, but that covers the main areas that can be of concern to the company and result in disciplinary action or termination. In each case of misconduct or unsatisfactory performance, the appropriate disciplinary action will be determined at the company's discretion on the basis of the particular facts and circumstances. Parking here at SSC's facility is going to typically be out on the street. So North Lane is the street that we're situated on, and we're going to ask that you park your personal vehicles while at work towards the west or towards the north along North Lane. If you're working overnight or on an out-of-town job, we will provide a space for you to park your vehicle in our yard that's to the north of our main office. If you do that, there's a board where you can hang your keys up that's down by the ice machine. You'll be shown this during your tour. We ask that you hang your keys up there just in case anything happens while you're gone that your car needs to be moved. Sometimes we have deliveries, etc., that would require your car to be moved. As far as smoking goes, in accordance with the Smoke-Free Arizona Act, the company specifically prohibits any smoking in all buildings and company vehicles and within 20 feet of any doors, windows, or ventilation system of any buildings. This is a smoke-free property, and we do not tolerate any smoking on the property. If you're smoking around the property, around the fences, we ask that you dispose of your own cigarette butts. This policy covers not just cigarettes, but also e-cigarettes and vaping. In addition, you need to be aware that many of our job sites are non-smoking job sites. You'll be notified this, and it will be apparent via signage at the job site, but be cognizant of these things. Never smoke in a confined space, and never smoke where it's inappropriate. On a job site, even if it's not a non-smoking job site, just be aware of who's around and be courteous to other non-smokers. Also remember that company vehicles are a part of our company property, and smoking is not permitted in those by law. Next, we're going to talk about benefits. SSC is really proud to offer top quality benefits to our employees that really exceed standards for our industry and for companies of our size. In fact, one of our bold steps is that we'll rise above industry standards in the benefits we provide. So let's talk a little bit about the benefits that you'll be receiving as an employee of SSC. One of the benefits we provide is 401k plan. We really believe in planning and saving for your future. You'll be eligible to participate in the 401k plan after a year of employment. At that time, you'll be eligible to contribute your own funds to the 401k plan, and if you do so, the company provides a matching contribution of up to 4%. This is a really great benefit and a great way to maximize your earnability now for your future. In addition, we offer group medical and dental insurance. You'll be eligible for that the first of the month after 90 days of employment. As you're approaching that mark, I'll be providing you with a packet of information so that you can enroll for that. We offer medical benefits, and the company pays 90% of the employee portion of those medical policies. We have a variety of offerings available at different costs depending on your situation and what works best for you that you can choose from. In addition, we provide dental insurance, which is a great benefit for your overall health and well-being. As we said, that information will be provided to you as you become eligible for your choice to enroll. In addition to paying employee premium, we do pay a portion of family premium, and you can enroll your children, your spouse, or your entire family on those benefits if you so choose. We do also have a Section 125 plan, which allows the premiums for those benefits to to be deducted from your payroll on a pre-tax basis. This lowers your taxable income and increases your take-home pay potentially each paycheck. The first benefit that you'll probably experience is paid time off. We're really excited to have a paid time off PTO policy that exceeds the state requirements. Our PTO incorporates the states of Arizona's sick time pay law, so that is incorporated in our PTO. We specifically don't have a separate sick time policy because we want people to be able to take time off on a planned basis and get paid for it. We don't want you to have to pretend to be sick in order to get a day off work. We really promote taking time away from work, and we hope that our PTO policy allows you to do just that. We do ask that you take time off with as much pre-planning as possible. Another piece of information that you'll get in your new hire packet is login information to our employee portal. As I mentioned before, that's where the handbook will be, and you'll find other employee documents stored on that portal that you can access. But the primary use of the portal is to request time off. In the portal, you'll have the ability to submit a request for time off, either with or without pay, or you can even cash out PTO benefits that are available that you've earned using that portal. It's really important that when you want time off, you use that portal to request that time off with as much notice as possible. We want to be able to say yes, and we want to be able to grant your request to be off. The more notice that you give us, the better we're going to be able to plan for crews and staffing and jobs to be able to accommodate those requests. So when you know you need time off, please get it in. Avoid the phone call the night before of I forgot about this or I need tomorrow off. We understand emergencies happen, but please save emergency time off for true emergencies. The PTO benefit that you'll receive for your first 2 years, you can earn up to 56 hours, which is the equivalent of 7 days of PTO each year. You're going to start earning that PTO from the very first hour that you work at SSC. You're going to earn 1 hour of PTO for every 30 hours that you work. That's going to start accruing, like I said, from day one. You're going to be eligible to use that PTO after 90 days of employment. For the average work week of 40 hours, at that rate of 1 hour per 30, you're going to earn approximately an hour and a quarter each week. That means by the time 90 days goes by, you're probably going to have at least 8 hours built up, which is equivalent to a day of PTO. So that's a really exciting benefit, and we hope that you can use that to enjoy time away from work. You can also save it to use for, we encourage you to save some to use for if emergencies happen, if you are sick, because again, that does include our sick time. You can also save it for if we have days where work is shut down or there's rain. That allows you to get paid for those days. You can use it for those. In that case, even though it's in arrears, you're going to ask to request it after you've actually been off, but you want to use it for pay, then we ask that you still go into the portal and request that you use those hours for those days. And if you ever have any questions about that, don't hesitate to see myself or Stephen. PTO is a benefit that's going to grow with you as you're with the company for longer. So after 2 years, the benefit increases to 80 hours a year that you can earn. And that staggers up all the way to 160 hours per year after you've been here for 10 years. The rate that you earn it at also increases, so you earn it faster. At 2 years, that rate increases to 1.5 hours for every 30, and it stair steps up from there as well. So it's really a great benefit that we are really proud to offer to our employees, and we hope that you find it to be a great benefit as well. In addition to paid time off, we are thrilled to say that we offer paid holidays. Those just happened starting in 2019. That means that any day that the company is closed for a holiday, for the 6 major holidays a year, that's going to be New Year's Day, Memorial Day, 4th of July, Labor Day, Thanksgiving Day, and Christmas Day. Those 6 days a year are going to be paid for you if you've been here for 90 days at the time of those holidays. The payroll calendar that you'll get in your new hire packet indicates those days that the company is closed for the holidays. We may be closed additional days around those holidays. You're not paid for those days. For example, Thanksgiving, we're closed Thanksgiving Day and also the Friday following. You'll be paid for Thanksgiving Day. You will not be paid for the following. However, you can choose to use your PTO for that. That gives you 6 extra days of paid time off earnings ability each year and above our PTO policy. That's really an excellent benefit and not common at all in our industry. So we hope that you really value that investment that we make in our employees being able to enjoy their time off during holidays. Like I said, that's available for you after 90 days of employment, and will be paid to you automatically at 8 hours for those days worked, or those days closed for holidays, not worked. We've talked a bit about safety throughout, and you're going to watch a safety video following this, and we're going to talk about safety again during the onboarding meeting with the crew that you're going to be working with. However, there's a few key points that I want to cover regarding safety. Like I said, we take safety really seriously, and we want everybody to go home from work each day whole and healthy. And we want you to come back the next morning whole and healthy and ready to work as well. The company's responsibility in providing a safe work environment, we take seriously. And we want you to know you will never be asked to do something where the most likely outcome is that you're going to get hurt. Construction is inherently risky. We can't remove all the risk from what we do. However, we take every step to minimize the risk that we can. It really requires participation and thought from you though. We found that accidents happen primarily when two things happen: a lack of communication or complacency. Communication comes from that statement that I made earlier. You're never going to be asked to do something where the most likely outcome is that you're going to get hurt. So if somebody asks you to do something, or you're given an assignment, and the first thing you think is, I think I might get hurt doing that, don't do it. Ask a question. Ask the person, this is what I heard you say, is that what you meant? Because chances are it was either a misunderstanding on your part or a poor communication on their part. So ask the question. If they answer it and you still think that seems really dangerous, I think I might get hurt, tell them that. I feel like I'm going to get hurt doing that. Let them explain and show you and tell you the right way to do it. If for some reason you still feel really unsafe doing it, don't do it. Don't do something and then tell me later, I knew I was going to get hurt doing it, but I did it anyways. That's just not okay. We need partnership when it comes to thinking and acting safely. You, from day one, have the power to shut down any job site if you see unsafe behavior. You have the power to say, stop working, we're going to get hurt. We hope that this never has to happen because the people that we're putting you out there to work know what they're doing and take safe actions all the time. But no, if something gets missed and you feel unsafe for yourself or for others, stop work. Speak up and make sure that it gets attended to before anybody starts working again. If you're feeling like your complaints or your requests or your concerns about safety are being ignored, see myself or see a manager or another leader of the company immediately so that we can handle that. The other time that accidents happen is with complacency. There is a repetitiveness to what we do, and sometimes you can kind of fall into a trap of just, I've done the same thing over and over and over again, and you stop thinking about it. That's when accidents happen. They happen when you stop thinking. Even though the task and the routine might get really repetitive, you still need to think about what you're doing. Every job site poses different hazards. Every project poses different unique situations, and you need to think through those and be really sure that the way that you're acting is safely at all times. In order to help with the concern of complacency, one of the key things that you're going to do with your crew at the beginning of each day is a task hazard analysis. You do this as an entire crew, and we want you to participate. In fact, we require that you participate. That's one of the things that you'll be evaluated on as you have progress evaluations, if you participate in the THA or not. The THA is a form that is filled out by the crew leader, but participated in by everybody, like I said. It's going to look at the tasks. What are you doing today? What are the specific things that you're doing? What's going on the job site? Where are you working? What unique hazards are produced, generated just by the fact of where you're at and what you're doing that day? So what are the tasks? And then what are the hazards associated with those? What are the hazards associated with the environment, with the things that you're doing that could possibly go wrong? How could you get hurt? How could property be damaged? How could the public be put at risk by what you're doing today? And then how do we take away those hazards? What are the controls that we need to put in place? So is it wearing proper PPE? Is it working inside of traffic control? Is it communicating with the public? What is it that needs to be done to ensure that everybody is safe? So we're going to do that at the beginning of each shift every single day when you arrive on site. We take it very seriously. It's a huge investment of the company to devote that amount of time each day by each of its crew members to doing this, but we take it seriously and we require that you do it. And again, the purpose of doing that is that each day your focus gets put back onto what are you doing and how do you do it safely. So please participate in those, use those as a learning experience, and contribute right from day one. Often the new person on the job has the most to contribute because everything's new and it's not a repetitive thing yet. So please pay attention, participate, contribute. We really take it seriously. Another daily activity on the job site in order to reduce and prevent injuries is a stretch and flex. Again, this is a requirement that we have of every crew that they do at the beginning of each shift. We have some stretch and flex programs that you'll be shared with. However, the key factor in this is getting some mobility going and getting some stretching going at the beginning of each day in whatever form that your crew chooses to do it, so that everybody is preventing strain and pull type injuries each day on the job site. We're really into dynamic stretching, so some movement associated with it, not just static standing around. We really want to get the blood flowing and the muscles moving in order to prevent injuries. If there is an injury on a job site, we ask that you report it right away. 99% of the time, the injuries that our employees experience are minor. You might get a little something in your eye, or you might cut your hand or tweak your back or something like that, and they can just be treated on site and without any major issues. However, we ask that you still just let your crew leader know. They're going to make a note of that on the daily report. That way, if something happens and it turns into more later on, we've got a record of it. We're not trying to scramble and go back and remember when did it happen, who were you with, where were you at, all the things that are required if we're going to file a report about it. If the injury is a little bit more severe, you're not really sure, if you should get medical help or not, you're going to call and talk to me. We're going to figure it out together. What we try to avoid doing is just sending everybody straight to the doctor. Because once you go to the doctor for a work-related injury, they're in control. It doesn't matter what you say or what we say beyond that. They're not going to let you go back to work until they feel that in their eyes it's safe for you to go back to work. They want to reduce their liability and not let you go back if they have any suspicion that something might be wrong. They're going to probably put you on light duty, and once you see the type of work that we do, you'll see that we don't have a lot of light duty provisions for work. So that means you're going to be at home not working. That's not good for you, and that's not good for us. So we're going to keep you at work. So we try to avoid going to the doctor if it's not an emergency situation or something that's not definitely in need of medical care. So we're going to determine the best course of action. Is that you go home and ice something and take some ibuprofen and see how it is in the morning. We can use nurse triage lines. We can do a variety of things to make sure that you get the care that you need, but not put you or the company in a situation where we're stuck with a doctor that doesn't understand what's really going on. Because even if you wake up the next morning and say, I feel great, I'm going back to work, if the doctor has said you can't go back to work, then we can't let you go back to work. Of course, all of this is not for an emergency situation. If a major injury or accident emergency happens, we're going to get you the medical attention that you need ASAP, and we're going to worry about all of this after. But just know that for the most of the time, we try to avoid medical intervention as much as possible, again, for your benefit, more so than ours. We do have workers' compensation insurance. You're, of course, having the right to seek medical attention at any time. If you do seek medical attention on your own and don't go under our direction, be sure that you get a drug test when you go. Our workers' compensation carrier will not accept the workers' comp claim if it hasn't been accompanied by a drug test at the time of seeking medical care. So be sure that you get that if you go on your own. If we send you, we're going to make sure that that happens at that time. Again, communication. Bring it up, talk about it. We're going to figure out the best course of action, but report it, report it, report it. Don't let things go by and not report them and then let them turn into something big, because it makes a whole lot more work for all of us in the end. And again, if you ever have any question about how to deal with a workers' compensation injury, please come and let me know. The last safety-related item, the safety video is going to talk a lot about, but I just want to give you the heads up on it. It's safety data sheets, a hazard communication program. So you do, in your working at SSC, you'll be exposed to chemicals and substances that are deemed hazardous. This is everything from diesel fuel to the glass cleaner for the truck windows to the asphalt patch or sand that you use to fill holes. It seems like everything has a safety data sheet and can be termed a hazardous material, even duct tape. Anyways, this is a really common thing that safety inspectors are going to ask you on the job site is, do you know your safety data sheets are? Most of our trucks have a red binder in them that has the safety data sheets in them. However, the most current and up-to-date safety data sheet listing is going to be on the crew leaders' iPads. So we keep all the safety data sheets up to date electronically on the iPads. So if you ever need them, you can access them via their iPads to either show a safety inspector, or if you actually need to access them because you've gotten something in your eye and you need to know what to do with it, or whatever the case may be. So again, the video is going to talk a lot more about safety data sheets and how to use them and how to work around hazardous chemicals and recognize the labels and things like that. But mainly you just need to know where those safety data sheets are for our company, and that is they're on the iPad. They may also be in a red safety binder in paper format, but for sure every person has them on the iPad. Okay, just a couple more items before we move on that I just wanted to be sure that you were aware of. The first is our labor law posters. You're required to know where we post our labor law posters in our office. And those can be located either in the meeting room that's located in our main office, or by the employee time clock that you're going to clock in and out on the iPad with the time card app. Those are just legal requirements, legal things that we're required to post about so that you are aware of your rights as an employee. They're there if you need them. The primary reason I'm telling you that is because on certified jobs, as I mentioned before, Department of Labor inspectors are known to visit those and ask various work-related questions. That may be a question that they ask. Do you know where your labor law posters are at? Now you can say, yes, they're at my office, in the new hire orientation meeting room, and by my employee time clock. Another question that a Department of Labor inspector may ask you on a certified job is, do you know what classification you're working under? So like we talked before, you're going to have the classification determined in advance that you're working in. You may be working under multiple, depending on what type of work you do. You're probably not going to remember the exact name of the classification because they're kind of confusing, the names that they're given. However, each certified job is going to have a folder with it. It's going to be a yellow plasticky kind of folder with papers inside of it, and in there is going to be a list of the classifications on the job. So if you ever get asked that by a Department of Labor inspector, you can say, I know I was told, but I just can't remember off the top of my head. Let me go get my crew leader, and he has that information in the folder. You have every right to do that, and do that instead of guessing and saying the wrong thing, because if you say the wrong thing, we have to prove later why we're not actually paying you under that classification. Certified payroll, it has great intentions, but it really does create a lot of work, and a lot of that work comes by inspectors on the job site asking questions that just are confusing and get people hung up and answering things in ways that we then end up having to prove differently later on. So just take your time, ask for a minute, ask to get the information. You have every right to do that. We're not asking that you are saying anything untruthful. We're doing everything right. It's just we understand that it can get confusing sometimes when those questions are asked out on the job site when you're just there trying to get your job done. Just a quick note about the time clock app that we've talked about, and you're going to get a chance to go clock in shortly after you're done with all of your paperwork. Before you start the safety video, you're going to get a chance to clock in and actually be on time, on company time and payroll time at that point. When you clock in and clock out, the time is rounded to the nearest 15-minute increment. And so it's just kind of, it's math, and there's a posting by the time clock that shows how that's done. But just so you know, how your time is calculated, it's calculated in 15-minute increments based on rounding of the time that you clock in or clock out. You're going to receive a new hire information packet at the conclusion of your orientation today before you leave. That's really important information. Be sure that you hold on to that and do some looking at what's in there. The key items in there, we've talked about some of them. One is going to be the payroll calendar that shows the dates that you get paid and also the dates that were closed for company holidays. It's also going to have the login information for your employee time clock and for that employee portal. please use the employee portal. We have set it up to be a tool that makes it convenient for you for requesting time off and to use your PTO. And so we ask that you really log in and use that to make those requests. And then the responses will be given via that system as well for when those requests are approved. A quick item to note is that we talked about PTO and it being available for you to use after 90 days of employment. Know that you can request time off before that. It'll just be without pay, which is the way that you can request it simple in the system. So don't feel like you can't take time off in the first 90 days or that to make it an emergency where you just call in because you're going to be off. Request it in advance. It's totally fine. Do it, but just please, like we said, request it in advance and use the employee portal to do that. The other items that are going to be included in that new hire packet are informational for you to learn and be better equipped to do your job with. And so those two items are the hand signals. So we talked about spotting being an important thing, and you'll be taught this by the crew that you're working with. However, we equip you with a sheet that has those hand signals on them so that you can familiarize yourself with the signals to use for when you're spotting the trucks. In addition, there's going to be a sheet that goes over blue stake marks. So blue stake or Arizona 811 or one call center tickets are all the things that we're required to call in before we go out and do any type of underground excavating. For the vacuum potholing, there often are guide marks of where we're locating and the utilities that we're locating for. It's a series of colored painted marks depending on utility that are marked on the ground. And we're going to give you an information sheet that shows what those different marks look like and mean and what the different colors mean as far as the different types of utilities that they represent. So take a few minutes to familiarize yourself with that. That's really important information for you to be familiar with to best be able to do your job and contribute to the team. That concludes the overview of our employee handbook and our policies and procedures. When we're done with this video, there's just a few minutes left, I promise, you're going to take a quiz that ensures that you have an understanding of some of the key components. And again, if you ever have a question about a policy, feel free to reference the employee handbook on the employee portal. And if you have questions about it or there's any misunderstanding, please come see me. I'll be happy to discuss them with you. The last items to review before we conclude this video are the new hire forms that you're going to fill out following completion of this video and the quiz. So there's some key forms that you're going to fill out online, and so I just want to review those with you so you have an understanding of what you're completing. The first time is when you log in and begin to complete them, check the address that's on them. We've pre-populated with them using the address that was on your employment application. If that's changed or not the right address for those, be sure to let us know so that we can correct that address that's on the forms. So the forms that you're going to fill out are mostly the legal required forms that you may have seen at previous employers. The first one is the I-9 form. This is your employment eligibility via Customs and Immigration Enforcement. So you're going to fill out the top section that includes your personal information, and you're going to select one of the boxes of your resident or citizenship or work eligibility status. If you're not a U.S. citizen and you have immigration documents authorizing your eligibility to work, make sure that we have those provided so that we can fill in the proper information is filled in on that form. Otherwise, we do need documents establishing your eligibility to work, which are provided. There's a list provided with the I-9 form, but primarily that would be a document that establishes your identity, so some form of photo identification like a driver's license, and then something that establishes your eligibility to work, so a social security card would work for that. We can also use a birth certificate for that. An alternative would be if you have a passport, that can take the place of both of those documents. Either way, you need to provide that documentation, or if it's work eligibility documentation from immigration, that would be in their place, and you need to provide that information to us following the completion of the paperwork so that we can have that for your file. In addition to the I-9 form are tax forms. And so you're going to complete a W-4, which is the federal withholding tax form that designates how much federal tax gets withheld. You're going to be sure to complete all of your personal information, and then in box 5 is the really important box down at the bottom of the form to claim the number of allowances that you're claiming. It needs to be a number between 0 and 10. 0 is going to withhold the most amount of taxes, 10 will withhold the least amount of taxes. If you're not familiar with what you typically claim, there are worksheets with that form that you can complete that can help you determine the best amount to claim on those for your taxes, so that you have enough withheld that you don't end up owing at the end of the year, but not too much. Another form that's completed is a W-9. This is just a verification of your social security number and kind of a double proving that we're hiring you as an employee, not as a contract laborer or 1099 employee or anything like that. So you're gonna fill in your information on it and be sure to check the box that says individual. You're gonna fill out your social security number. And again, this is just kind of a double verification of your being hired as an employee and not as a contract worker. The next form is the Arizona A4 form. This is for your Arizona income taxes. And so you're going to complete that. On line 1, you're going to choose one of the tax rates that vary between 0.8 and 5.1%. If you're not familiar with this or you're not sure what to select, somewhere in the middle is typically a safe bet. And so that's for your state taxes. The next form that you're going to complete is an emergency notification form. If something were to happen to you while you're at work, who would we need to get a hold of in an emergency situation? So please make sure that that's filled out. Emergencies do happen. On that form is also a box where you can indicate any sort of medical information, allergies, things like that, anything that we would need to know in case of an emergency that we could relay information to emergency services that may be being provided to you. That completes the paperwork that you're going to be completing on the online system. There will be a couple of other forms that you'll have when you are issued your PPE and your shirts that you'll sign, and that will be provided to you at that time. And if any time your information needs to be updated from the forms that are provided online, please be sure to come into the office and update that. We can change your tax status, like I said, your direct deposit information, anything like that at any time. Also, please always make sure that we have a current phone number and address for you, and just come into the office and let us know, and we can give you a form to fill out to do that. That concludes this portion of your new hire orientation for your new job here at SSC. We're really thankful that you've joined the company, and please let us know anything that we can do to help you be successful as an employee here at SSC. Thanks.